telling you that I need to be there. I need to be there so the elders can say, listen, this how this shit gonna go from now on. We setting rules to this shit. When y'all have conflicts, y'all don't settle the conflict on YouTube. Y'all don't settle the conflict between yourselves. Y'all come to us. And no one is allowed to attack another brother or attack another sister. If they need to be disciplined, the elders will do the discipline. That's what we need. We need the elders to step up. Will the elders step up is the question. Will my elders, who I love and respect, step up and call a mandatory meeting to enforce everybody to come, and anybody who think they too good to come, they ass don't get supported no more. Ain't nobody above the conscious community. If Dr. Umar Johnson can come, then all y'all can come, because ain't none of y'all names above mine. All y'all can come. Nobody is above. If you think you too good to show up, your ass don't get supported no more. Go hustle somewhere else. No more hustling consciousness. If you hustling consciousness, then you got to come and get your marching orders from the eldership. That's how Dr. Umar Johnson is coming. We need the elders to be elders. Before this year ends, a date needs to be set for a private. This cannot be live streamed. No live stream shit. There needs to be a private meeting with the leading speakers. If you made a documentary, your ass better be there. You speak on the lecture circuit, your ass better be there. You got a radio show and you got a following, your ass need to be there. The people you watch and see on YouTube and listen to on the radio, they must be there. Because all this troublemaking shit, conflict shit, fighting over money shit, it got to end. And again, I'm not speaking on that because that's none of my business. I hope them brothers work it out. I got respect for all of those brothers despite any differences I may have had with any of them individually. I don't like it. It's not good for either side. It's not a good situation. But I'm not putting my nose in that because it's none of my business. But speaking, I would say that that's just a symptom of a larger issue, and we need the elders to stand up.
Yes, sir. That was a powerful clip from Dr. Umar Johnson, who's live with us right now. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Black I Stand Radio, and today we have a treat for you with Dr. Umar Johnson. We're going to speak on black power politics in the age of Donald Trump. He is going to be in Baltimore Monday, and he's going to be in L.A. at the Ward AME Church. That's 1177 West 25th Street, Los Angeles, 90007. You can also pick up the tickets at let's see here, principalafricanism.eventbrite.com, which you can also find on the website to the episode information on this show. Before we get started, I just want to give acknowledgement and thanks to the ancestors and to the Creator, to the elders that are still working on our behalf. And I also want to make sure that you let everybody know that we're on live right now. Follow the show. Make sure you let everybody know. Send a text, a tweet, something that we're on live right now with the good brother, the good doctor, the Prince of Pan-Africanism, the most requested speaker and the most dynamic doctor of this particular generation. And I want to thank you, good brother, for coming on the show. How you doing, Dr. Umar?
All is well, my brother. Thanks for having me. Peace and love to the whole West Coast. Shout out to Los Angeles. Can't wait to see you guys on Saturday, January the 7th. It'll be my first visit since 2014.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So, I mean, I would be, a lot of people would be on me if I didn't bring up and comment on that particular clip that we just played when you're basically addressing the conscious community and speaking on something that I think is long overdue, and that is to have the eldership take their place. And for those who represent this conscious community, this Black Power movement, should be able to fall in line with the elders. And coming from somebody like yourself, who has been a very powerful force in this movement, has been a big voice in this movement, it's only remiss to say that that only makes it that much more powerful. And a lot of people have been, knowing that you're coming on the show, urging me or nudging me to at least bring this up during this topic of conversation. I know you have a lot of other things you want to get into and promote, but if you could just speak on that, what compels you to do that, and things of that nature, because that is something I think that we all need, and we've all been thinking this, even if we haven't been saying this.
Well, I think that the black consciousness community in the United States is at a crossroads. And if we're at a crossroads, the entire international black consciousness community is at a crossroads because most black folks in other countries within their conscious communities, they take their lead from us. We're the example. We set the blueprint. And so I think that if we do not get very serious about what we claim to be doing, ultimately our people are going to end up tuning us out for something else, or they're going to end up going back to the church. See, the central contradiction of black consciousness is that we claim that in order to solve our problems, we have to get our people out of the church. We have to disconnect them from mainstream religion. Well, the black consciousness movement itself is metamorphosizing into another world religion. I mean, when you look at the structure of the church, the black conscious community is pretty much operating in that same vein. I mean, what does a preacher do? He talks and collect money. What do the lecturers do? They talk and collect money. The preacher really doesn't do anything above and beyond run his mouth. And that's probably true for 95% of all the speakers in the conscious community, too. They don't. Most of them are not involved in any sort of serious undertaking, no sort of serious mission or movement. They might belong to an organization, but is that organization necessarily being progressive or not? So I think the exact same things that we criticize mainstream Christian pastors, we're guilty of as a collective as well. So how do you call the kettle black? How do you call the kettle black when you yourself are also a black kettle? And so I think that black consciousness has to take a long look in the mirror. One of the biggest differences between black consciousness today and black consciousness in the 20th century was 20th century black consciousness was activism-based. You might not agree with Dr. King. You might not agree with Malcolm. You might not agree with Medgar. You might not have agreed with Huey P. Newton. Okay, but guess what? You might not agree with Stokely Carmichael or H. Rap Brown. You might not agree with the philosophies, but you still had to support them because they were activists. They did things. They were not just about talking. You didn't just see them running around espousing or intellectually masturbating on different issues. After they got off that stage, they were about feeding the people, clothing the people, teaching the children. They were about more than rhetoric. And today's black consciousness community is stuck in quicksand because all we are about is rhetoric and information.
Right. Well, and with that said, as you have the event coming up at the AME Church, and you made the reference to the church and the similarities between the church and the conscious community. But if we really go back into the nature of the church and its inception in this country for African Americans, for black people, the churches were actually in activism. So even like before the Civil Rights Movement, we go back to the history of the AME Church, South Carolina. They were actually doing things that were affecting the community and actually helping with the liberation struggle. So I'm assuming that you would think that it's important, seeing that the church is such a big institution and the backbone of the black community, that we not only work with churches, but churches to get more on the active level that they were in the past.
Churches need to revert back to what they originally were. Black churches were born out of black revolutionary struggle. When you study the black church, even when you go back to the African Methodist Episcopal, the oldest black independent church denomination in the world, you're looking at revolutionary behavior, revolutionary action. Richard Allen and Absalom Jones, who also fathered one of the oldest black Christian denominations, they started one of the first black self-reliance organizations in America, even before Marcus Garvey's UNIA. So when you look at the black church, you get nothing but a revolution. You study the black church, you have to deal with Bishop Henry McNeil Turner, one of the grandfathers of Pan-Africanism, who called the United States flag a stinking dirty rag. He was the first black man in America to say that God was black. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad attended his school as a child. And for me, being a Pan-Africanist, I know a lot about church history because most of the fathers of Pan-Africanism were preachers. Bishop Henry Neal Turner, Alexander Crummell was a preacher. Henry Highland Garnett, the first black man to give a speech on the floor of the first preacher to give a speech on the floor of the United States Congress. These were the fathers of Pan-Africanism, and they were preachers. So when you look at the revolutionary struggle, path to revolution ran through the black church. So we're not asking the black church to become something it's never been. We're asking the black church to once again become what it has always been.
Celebrate with Vons this week. Stop in for great deals on festive favorites. Everything you need to make the season merrier. Ring in the season when you shop with your club card and pick up Simply Juice 59 ounces refrigerated, selected varieties 2 for $5 plus CRV limit 2 total. And stop by Produce for a sweet deal on everyone's favorite healthy holiday snack. Local Halo tangerines, 3-pound bags for only $2.88 each. Smarter choices, sweeter deals, happier holidays. Vons. Fact is, it's just better.
That's a good point. What would you say to our people who, because when you look back at any struggle, from my assessment, even when we look at how successful the Honorable Marcus Garvey was, and they say that he had, I believe, from 6 to 8 million people in his organization, black people in his organization.
15 million.
But
15.
15?
15.
Okay, so would that have been the majority at the time? The point I'm getting at is, because a lot of us have the mindset that we all have to be on this, rather than, hey, there's enough of us that are on it that if we came together and actually put some work in, we could actually make some changes. We don't have to necessarily wait for everybody to get involved. What would you say to that?
I would agree with that. Brother Malcolm used to say that, it only takes one stick to start a fire. And so when you look at Garvey as an example, people often ask me as a Garveyite scholar, how did he end up organizing the largest black mass movement in modern history? More members than any other black group you can name. In fact, more members than nearly every black organization in America put together who is not funded by white folks today.
Wow. More
than the NAACP and Urban League, even with their white funding and mainstream attention. Garvey did this without a cell phone, without the internet, without an airplane. And part of the reason Mr. Garvey was so successful, if you look at the Garvey movement, you will see that it has always grown during the days of Garvey since its inception of 1914. But it didn't become the largest mass movement of all time until 1920, 1921. The reason that happened is because Marcus Garvey built the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation. When black people saw those ships on the water, that automatically inspired and electrified their consciousness. Black people, like all people, are attracted to one thing that neither the black church nor the conscious community has been able to become about, and that is progress. You want to bring people to your organization? Show demonstrated progress. When Garvey put them ships on the water, when Garvey started the Black Cross Nurses, when he started the Negro World newspaper, when Garvey started the Negro Factories Corporation, his Pan-African projects in Liberia, progress brings support. And so he ended up with the largest black organization because people could clearly see that he was serious, and people could clearly see that he was walking the talk. The other part of that is Garvey, unlike any other leader since Garvey, he did not use religion. In fact, one thing that makes Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey so unique as leaders, although ideologically there were differences, both of them were probably the last two greatest black leaders outside of the educators like Booker T. But in terms of traditional black leadership, Douglass and Garvey were the last two great ones we had who did not see the need to force a religion on black people. When you look at every organization after Garvey, every last one of them, they gave us a new religion. Whether it was Islam, whether it was this, whether it was that, whether it's the Hebrew thing, Christianity, everybody post-Garvey felt they needed to give black people a religion in order to organize us. Part of Garvey's success came from the fact that he did not and would not make the UNIA a religious organization.
Okay. So I agree with that. So we're gonna. So you have a lecture coming up in L.A. Black Power Politics in the Age of Donald Trump. What do you think that a Donald Trump presidency means for Black America? If anything significant?
Nothing significant. The only reason why it appears to be significant is because Black people actually think they achieved something under Barack Obama. In other words, Black people feel like they're going from success to failure. They feel like they're going from progression to regression. And with me, as a political scientist, I have a degree in political science. I'm a political science major from undergrad. I would like to know exactly what Black people feel they're losing in this transition from Barack Obama to Donald Trump. What did Barack Obama do for Black folks? Specifically for Black folks. I don't want to hear about health care. That wasn't for Black folks. That was for everybody. What did Obama do for Black folks? I have asked Obama supporters this, and I have been asking Obama supporters this since he got elected. I haven't got a straightforward answer yet. Name one law that Barack, or program, either or, that Barack Obama created that specifically addresses any issue that affects Black folk. And then they say, well, he can't be president of Black people. He got to be president of all the people. Well, first of all, Americans are not a monolithic people. America is a country of immigrants. Everyone here came from somewhere else. You're an Italian American, you're a Jewish American, you're an African American, you're a Chinese American. You came from someone else. America is not monolithic. And since America is not monolithic, the issues of the American people are also likewise not monolithic. So you have to target the agendas of specific groups in order to take care of Americans. He did that. He gave the homosexuals 3 federal laws, 3 federal laws in one term. He gave white women the Equal Pay Act. He gave immigrants landmark legislation. Specifically for gays, there were laws. Specifically for women, there were laws. Specifically for immigrants, there were laws. There was nothing specifically done by Barack Obama. Challenge that. Please state the program or the law that was created by President Obama that specifically targeted Black folks. There hasn't been a single one.
No, they won't be able to name one. Matter of fact, the same conversation was being had on My Skin Is My Sin earlier, which is a show within the Liberation Minded Media Network. And, anytime someone that tries to defend Obama, the first thing that they'll say is, well, he couldn't be president for everybody, or, well, he had a lot of obstacles, or, he would have gotten in trouble, this and that. But, I mean, he didn't have a problem, saying bailing out these big companies. He didn't have a problem with the LGBT community and all that, helping the corporations. So, I have to agree with you. But as far as Donald Trump goes, I would just say that the only thing that the silver lining for me with the Donald Trump that I'm hoping is that at least maybe he'll rattle up more people. More of our people might get shaken up enough to get activated and do something because they don't have that Lindsay Lohan coming from Hillary Clinton. So they know exactly how he's rolling. You can't really hide his racism like you can hide Hillary. So maybe that will activate people to say, hey, we better start doing something and huddling up and getting some actual things done. Because when you look at the Chinese, you look at the Jewish, you don't see them being rattled about the presidency because they have their communities in check. They have their economics, they have their political system within their own neighborhoods and communities, so it doesn't really seem to affect them in a way that we think it's going to affect us.
Father Rothschild said it best. The European Jew who created the modern banking system, the modern international banking system. He trained all of his sons, sent them across the world, trained them in the art of putting countries into debt by way of financing them and financing their wars. When he was asked why he never ran for public office, Father Rothschild replied, there's no need to. Give me control over a nation's wealth. Give me control over a nation's economy, and I could care less who makes the laws. And this is what Black people fail to realize. We are more concerned about who becomes president than anyone else in America. Are you aware that only about 50% of Americans vote? America has one of the lowest voter turnouts in the entire industrialized world. And the reason the voter turnout is so low in America, the government isn't going to do anything for them, so they don't vote. And rich people could care less if the government did anything for them at all because they're rich. So the people who tend to vote are middle class and working class folks because they feel that they have the most to win or the most to lose by the outcome. But the truth of the matter is Only those who invest in politics get a return on their investment. If you do not financially invest in the political structure, you don't get any return. Black people have never, in an organized fashion, invested in the political structure of America, and that's why you never get a return. What we do, we go out and we go crazy, we go vote for Obama. We don't have a conversation with Obama. We don't put forth an agenda before Obama. We dance in the streets and we sing like he's some sort of black Jesus, chocolate Jesus coming to save us. Very religiously immature. Very religiously immature. And then we don't finance none of the campaigns of the major parties. So why would any candidate have to be accountable to black folks when you did not use your money in a significant way to finance my campaign? Voting is not the most important thing you do for a candidate. Voting is the second most important thing you do for a candidate. The most important thing you do for a candidate is you finance the election. Gays did that for Obama. Latinos did that for Obama. And that's why they got a return on their financial investment. Black people made no financial investment in Barack Obama, and as such, they got no return.
Absolutely. And when you look at the whole system, especially from a federal level, I mean, you have to be a 100-millionaire to run in the first place. But what would you say, about the local politics? Because from a local level, we have a little more control, meaning that we can raise.
Oh, without question. A lot more control. But here's the three major issues on the local level. Number one, as I said prior, we're not funding the campaigns. Black people do not have a political fund. We do not have a political union. We do not have any lobbying groups. We do not have any political action committees. Do you realize that there are literally thousands of lobbyists who live in Washington, D.C.? Their entire job is to pay, bully, and force elected officials to approve whatever their particular initiative is. We have no lobbying groups in D.C. We have no financial set-asides put in place to finance candidates. So until we start using our money to benefit our politics, we will never become an economically or politically empowered. Clear relationship between your political power and your economic power. In fact, they're one and the same, hence the word political economy. Okay? How you spend your money dictates your political strength. Your political strength is a reflection of how you spend your money. So let's look at that. Black people spend $600 million a year on McDonald's, $2 billion a year on athletic footwear, $4 billion a year on alcohol and booze, $9 billion a year on weed, perm, hair care products. We buy 3 times as many Mercedes-Benzes as white folk, although white folk have 3 times as much wealth as we have. Right now, Christmas, this is the worst economic time of the year for black folk. This year is the worst economic time of the year for black folks. Why? Because in most major metropolitan cities, black people are hemorrhaging, literally, giving back to their enemy billions of dollars in the name of Christmas gifts. Philadelphia, $3 billion. Detroit, $5 billion. New York City, $8 billion. Los Angeles, approximately $8 billion. This is how much money we spend for one day. I didn't say million. I said billion. We don't have to worry about who becomes president. With that type of money, you can build your own supermarkets. Right. You can manufacture your own automobiles. You can create your own import-export industry, your own airline, your own schools, your own hospitals. With that type of money, we have no business to be relying on the U.S. government to do a damn thing for us.
Exactly. I mean, in essence, from those numbers, I mean, we're funding our oppression. You know, the 13th
Funding your
Amendment.
oppression.
Yeah, the 13th Amendment says you can only be made slaves again with prisons, which just happened to pop up after the end of, the enslavement, the physical bondage. So now the prisons are the new plantations. So when we spend our money with these corporations that invest in private prisons. Basically, what we're saying is we need more police on the street. We're giving you more money to build more plantations, and you know who is going to end up in there. So with the wealth that we have, as you spoke about earlier, we actually would be one of the most wealthiest nations if we were to pull it together and have our own industries, our own manufacturing, supporting our own black businesses that we have right now, supporting our own black organizations, grassroots organizations. We could really have a nation within a nation, and we wouldn't have to worry about who's in the presidency. We'd be taking care of our local government at such a rate that what we couldn't control wouldn't even really bother us as much.
Hollywood directors don't settle for anything but the best picture, sound, and comfort when screening their films. And neither should you. So check out the new Universal Cinema at City Walk, a multi-million-dollar renovation of the AMC Theater, now with Christie RGB laser projection and Dolby Atmos with immersive surround sound. Plus, reserved deluxe reclining seats make the movie so much better. And with $5 movie parking every day, why go anywhere else? Universal Cinema at City Walk. $5 general parking with movie purchase rebate. Recliner seating not available in IMAX theaters.
Something smells incredible.
I'm getting a jump on my cooking for the holidays.
I don't remember these pots and pans.
Well, I was just at Dee Dee's Discounts, and I found all this great stuff. Placemats, tablecloths.
Oh, I love these glasses.
Look at these dishes. I just saw them somewhere else for a lot more.
You know how to save money, girl. Ooh, and you know how to bake. This pie is delicious.
Have some more.
I shouldn't, but if you insist.
To find a location near you, visit dd'sdiscounts.com.
Without question, our problem is not resources. We have the intellectual, we have the academic, we have the financial resources. We're $1 trillion economy. $600 million on McDonald's ain't nothing poor about you. $9 billion on weaves and perms ain't nothing poor about you. $2 million on Timbs and Air Jordans, $2 billion on Timbs and Air Jordans every year. There's absolutely nothing broke about black folks except our psychological commitment to ourselves. We have no cultural commitment. There's no honor amongst black folks as it relates to our Africanity. No honor whatsoever. What makes it so easy for Chinese to work together, what makes it so easy for East Indians to collaborate, what makes it so easy for European Jews to harmonize their agendas is because they all love who they are, and they want to see themselves do well. There's a natural love that human beings have for themselves. Black people do not have it because slavery destroyed it, and post-slavery, instead of reclaiming our culture, they simply gave us Bibles and Qurans. So instead of reclaiming our culture, we simply claimed a religion. See, they used religion to replace culture. They really used religion to replace culture. So they took 2 million years of African history and culture away from you and gave you 2,000 years of the Bible. They took 2 million years of African history and culture from you and gave you 1,500 years of the Holy Quran. And there's nothing wrong with the religions. I don't take an issue with the religion, but I take issue with us who feel that any religion can be more important than culture. Culture is greater than religion. Religion does not cover of human life in development. There's 3 things that African spiritual culture had that no religion has. Number 1, a balance between masculine and feminine energy. African culture is about a balance of masculine and feminine energy. There's no balance in the church. There's no balance in the mosque. The men rule. That's it. Everything's masculine. God is masculine, or the prophets is masculine. Everything's masculine. So African spirituality has that balance. That's African culture. Number 2, divination. In addition to praying and fasting, we believe that we can get answers to our questions right now, that there's certain brothers and sisters born into this world chosen by God to be the priests, to be the diviners. You don't wake up and decide you want to be a priest in African culture. You don't wake up and decide you want to be a preacher. That's what you do in the hood. You don't do that with African spirituality. It has to be within your destiny chart for you to be a preacher or a priest of the people. And the third is ancestral veneration. We believe that the ancestors are the intermediaries between us and God, not the preacher. The preacher is not the intermediary between us. Our ancestors are the intermediary between us and the Most High. And until we reestablish that, I really believe it will be difficult for us to fix our problems because we coexist on 2 levels simultaneously at the same time, my brother, the physical and the spiritual purpose. It cannot be one way or the other. That is a dichotomy that we have to eliminate. In the 60s and 70s, a lot of the political organizations, they drew a line in the middle of the sand, and they said your organization is either religious or it's political. It's either spiritual or it is political. Well, guess what? In the 21st century, we have to heal that divide. It's not either or. It's both. There is no dichotomy. Our struggle as African people in the 21st century is simultaneously spiritual and political.
Yeah, well, I've heard you speak on that before. the culture and the religious aspect, because, if you have your knowledge of self, then you can practice whatever religion, but you're always going to be looking for that religion to serve your
exactly.
needs, your humanity.
Exactly.
So.
And as a result of that, what do you have? You have a situation where black people, unlike any other culture, again, we're so unique because of our self-hatred, the sickness of self-hatred. But black folks are the only people in America who have to go one place to pray and another place to organize. Let me say that again. You're the only people in America who have to go one place to pray and another place to organize. The Sunni Islamic Orthodox Masjid ain't the least bit interested in black people's problems. You're not organizing black political power in no masjid. Hell no. You go to the church. Once in a while you come across a Christian pastor who might be interested in the community to some extent, but he's not going to be unapologetically African. He'll let you talk about some things, but you won't be able to talk about all of the things that affect black folks. How can your religion be divided against your progress? How can your religion be neutral towards your success? That is the problem for black folks.
Absolutely. 100% on that. I just want to let the callers know you can press the 1 to join the conversation. We do have a couple people that wanted to get in, but I wanted to give you a chance. We could do that if you're ready to do that, but I wanted to give you a chance to speak on what you're going to be speaking on at the Ward AME Church on January 7th,
yes,
the Black Power Politics in the Age of Donald Trump.
Well, the first thing, every Dr. Umar lecture has something for everyone. Every time I speak, I like to offer a buffet of information because you don't know who needs what. So there's a little bit of black male-female relationships. There's a little bit of political disorganization. There's a little bit about the conscious community. There's something in there about spirituality. But the three things that I must always cover, no matter where I go in this world, and I've spoken on every continent except Asia, but that will soon be a thing of the past because I've finally been invited to come and speak to the Africans in China. And I'm hearing that there's a very large reception, that they're really looking forward to seeing Dr. Umar Johnson in Hong Kong, in Beijing, and in other places, and that brothers and sisters are coming from all over Asia to meet with me in China in May. So I'm very looking forward to that visit to China. And, of course, we know that Mao Zedong studied Marcus Garvey, and he used Garveyism to liberate China, as did Ho Chi Minh use Garveyism to liberate Vietnam. But anyhow, I'm going to deal with education, economic castration, political disorganization, because those three issues are at the crux of the black reality. We don't control our children's education. We don't use our money to serve our best interests. And we are politically disorganized. Until you take care of those three things, you're not serious about nation building. No one sends their children to their enemies to be educated and expects those children to come back and be healthy, productive members of their society. When black kids go to a white school, they are socialized to benefit the white ideal. They're not socialized to benefit the black ideal. Public school is an extension of the church. Public schools were created by the church. And the purpose of public school is not to teach children how to think. It's to teach them what to believe. Education is nothing more than religious indoctrination. Everybody knows Thomas Jefferson didn't write the Declaration of Independence, but that's what you're taught to believe. Everybody knows that George Washington wasn't some great guy who never told a lie, but that's what they want you to believe. Okay? Everybody knows that Christopher Columbus didn't discover America, but that's what they want you to believe. Everyone knows America was founded on freedom, justice, and equality, but that's what they want you to believe, because public education is not about science. It is not about the truth. It is not about learning how to think. It is about religious indoctrination. White supremacy is the religion, and the schools are the churches for the religion of white supremacy.
That's powerful. Let me just say we're going to get to some of these calls in the call queue. For those that are listening via the internet, I see a lot of people in the chat room. You can also dial in at 347-989-8767. We are live with Dr. Umar Johnson on Black Eye Stand Radio. Make sure you follow the show. Liberation Minded Media. I do have to give a shout out to My Skin Is My Sin, Do the Knowledge Radio, Shock T. Sterner, and the Get This Wisdom magazine, The Rundown with Renee. And this is, of course, Black Eye Stand Radio. So you mind going and taking a couple calls?
Sure. Go right to it.
Okay. Let's start off with area code 562. Peace. You're on Black Eye Stand Radio with Dr. Umar Johnson.
Black power, and more black power. Knowledge is truly power. Dr. Umar Johnson, Brother Ali, new Black Panther.
Peace and love, Brother Ali. Peace and love.
Peace and love, Black God, brother. But they said that God was going to come back one day, and I see you on your way to L.A. So I know God's returning, Black man. But
yes,
Brother
sir.
Jay,
Yes, sir. Los Angeles. Can't wait to get there, man. And thank you, my brother. Thank you for all you're doing.
Well, brother, without Sister Empress Monica, without Brother Jalil, without Brother, Brother Chairman Jabari, brother, we're all going to make this work. It's going to be a success. We can't wait, brother. Flyers and promotions are going to go out until the day of. So anyway, brother, I'm just listening. And Brother Jay, thank you for having our dear brother on, brother. Thank you for working with me with this. So maybe we do this again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but let me say, brother, say it one more time. Go ahead.
I said the door is open, Regional Chairman. I salute you, and I thank you, and I once again thank my guests. No doubt, the door is always open.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Not a problem. But Dr. Umar, continue on, brother. I will see you at Ward AME. We want to push that one more time. Everything is go. What else can I say, brother? Just excited. Can't wait. Take care of your health, my man, and we will see you and we will talk.
Will do, my brother. Black Power. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Jay, thank you for having me on. I just want to give him the greeting. That's all, brother.
Yes, sir. Black Power, sir. Once again, I wanted to mention the address for all the Cali listeners. I see that we do have several Californians online, so check it out. Ward AME Church, 1177 West 25th Street. I believe that's in the South Central area. Los Angeles, California, 90007. And you can also pick up the tickets at www.princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. The website link is actually on the show information. So when you go to the show on blogtalkradio.com/Black Eye Stand, you look at this episode, you go into the episode info, you can get the tickets right there, or you can click the link right there, or just go to princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. With that, let's take another call if you don't mind. Run through a couple.
Hi, I'm a helpful Southern California Honda person, and this holiday season we've been doing random acts of helpfulness, like giving out free Christmas trees, helping out at children's hospitals, and providing warm meals for the less fortunate. And during the Happy Honda Days sales event, we can help you too, with a great deal on an award-winning Honda, like the 2016 CR-V, a 2016 IIHS top safety pick. Click the dealer locator link to find a dealer near you and go to SoCalHondaDealers.com to suggest a random act of helpfulness for someone you know.
Hollywood directors don't settle for anything but the best picture, sound, and comfort when screening their films. And neither should you. So check out the new Universal Cinema at City Walk, a multi-million-dollar renovation of the AMC Theater, now with Christie RGB laser projection and Dolby Atmos with immersive surround sound. Plus, reserved deluxe reclining seats make the movie so much better. And with $5 movie parking every day, why go anywhere else? Universal Cinema at City Walk. $5 general parking with movie purchase rebate. Recliner seating not available in IMAX theaters.
We have a caller from the 864. You're live on Black Eye Stand Radio with Dr. Umar Johnson. Peace.
Black power, second Kim Hotel, and much love and power to brother Umar and definitely you, brother. So great work on both of you guys. I had.
Yes, sir. You have a question for the doctor or a comment?
Yeah. I heard the brother kind of hit in on basically, and a lot of times, I guess collectively for us as a black people, and even in the quote unquote conscious community, pro-black liberating community, it is it is something that is missed, and that is our engaging with our African traditions, our African spiritual traditions. The things that basically were the glue to our African ancestors. They were the things that kept, sustained their culture, their community, even as it related to agriculture and cultivating things. And the brother said some powerful stuff, because it seems like we venerate the ancestors of the European. Therefore, we're waiting on a white Santa Claus. We're waiting on a white Jesus to come, I guess, restore us or to give us a feel-good type. And that is the collective of us, here, I can say here in America. 80% of our people are, definitely in some type of religion, and we're waiting on something that is other than our African ancestors to come liberate and restore us, even as we're talking about the political system. The political system was never created for us as Africans to be liberated. And here in 2016, we're wondering why the political system has not restored the integrity of who and what we are. And I just wanted to kind of ask that question on how important do you think it is going to be that we all start as a people? And I hear some people say, well, it doesn't make a difference. We can be different religions and things of that nature. But that definitely takes me back to, if we have 5 different or 10 different gods or different things of that nature, and what I'm seeing with God is basically like a panhandle. He's like a panhandler, and we go and we give that religion or we give that ideology our money, our time. But what will happen once we change that dynamics and we allow our divinity or our most high or our creative aspect to be in line with our jury or our ancestors of good African integrity and good African quality? Not just talking about any African ancestors, when I'm talking about the ancestors that definitely were on their most high of cultivation. So how important it is that to restore, and I heard you kind of hit on that, but how important is that for all of us going to be inside going to where we're wanting to be liberated at?
I think it's very important. And I agree with what you're saying. But here's the thing we got to understand. We are a very diverse people. People are very diverse, spiritually, politically, and otherwise. Now, although we're very diverse, as Sheikh Ghana Joke talked about, there is a spiritual and a cultural unity. There is a common foundation that all African cultures share, whether it's East, Central, North, South, or West. There is a common spiritual fabric. There is a common cultural fabric. So the root is one, but the branches are many. And so for me, I think, coming from the wisdom of Marcus Garvey, that we don't necessarily have to come together and decide on a single religion. Religion is so personal. It's so dynamic and unique to the individual that we have to allow our brothers and sisters to give free expression to whatever direction their spirit wants to take. If a brother is a Muslim, that's not a problem. Christian, Hebrew, Moor, Nawapian, God in earth, Islam. I study the system of the Yoruba of Nigeria, known as Ifa, Kumi, Palo, Rasta, Santeria, Voodoo, whatever. We have to give them the freedom of religious expression. Politically, it's the same thing. There's no need for black people to argue, debate, and intellectual masturbate over what should we call ourselves. There's no need for us to intellectually masturbate over what is the name we should use for God. Whatever resonates with you is fine with me. I mean, let's look at our families. In a family, every child has a different name. Every child in the house has a different name, but they still belong to the same family. You may have a family where the mother is a Christian, the daddy is a Muslim, the son is a Hebrew, the daughter belongs to the Jehovah's Witnesses, but they're still family. So for me, it's the family concept that we need to embrace more so than any superficial label, because there is no one name to describe God. God is too great and above names No name you give the Creator is sufficient. I don't care what it is. Allah, Jehovah, Amin-Ra, all of them are nothing more, okay, than terms we use so we can interact with Supreme Consciousness. No name is appropriate for God. He is all of those names. She is all of those names, plus more. And the same thing occurs for us. There's no one name for us. If you want to be more, be more. You want to be Hebrew, be Hebrew. There's a million names to define African people. We're the oldest people, so we shouldn't be forcing people to come under one name. But what we need to embrace is the family concept. As long as we come together as family, as long as we represent the oneness. See, we always talk about one God, but God is oneness. It's not only about one God, it's about God being in the oneness. In other words, we will manifest, accept, and embrace the concept of oneness of family. That's why Marcus Garvey said one God, one aim, and one destiny. We need oneness of purpose more than we need to agree on any label to call ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. Let's take one more call. I know you have some other things you want to promote, so let's take one more call. For the rest of the callers, you can press the 1 to join the conversation. If you're listening via the internet from iTunes or Stitcher or G+, Facebook, wherever you're at, this is a very good chance to call in and speak with the good doc. That is area code 347-989-8767. Let's take it to the area code 504. Peace. You're on Black Eye Stand Radio with the good doctor, Umar Johnson.
Black African Power.
Black African Power.
Black African Power.
All right. First, I want to give respect to the ancestors, you know what I'm saying? Marcus Garvey, you know, the Honorable Khalid Muhammad, and the brother Malcolm X. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I say that because those are the people that I know, and those are my prophets, you heard me? But I just wanted to say what's happening to Dr. Umar, and I love what you're doing, and you inspired me. I'm homeschooling myself, brother. You know what I'm saying? I'm paying for curriculums. You know, I was homeschooling for a while, but I listen to you and I be getting on track, you know, and I just like how you get the information raw. And I just like you to go in a little bit on the importance of us getting our children, because I feel that's the focus of our enemy's attack right now. They're attacking our children and we leaving them defenseless. And I you know, I like how you break it down and give it to it raw to the people. So would you just go in on that for me?
Without question. One of the most disturbing things about the economic disorganization of black folk is that our children are struggling. They're hurting. Our boys are being in there castigated, special educated, psychiatrically medicated, evaluated for ADHD, diagnosed with all these glow-in-the-dark, cannot be proven disorders. You know, only 1 out of every 4 black boys gets a high school diploma. Only 1 out of every 4 black boys earns a high school diploma in this country. Knowing that statistic alone, and there's hundreds of unfortunate statistics, but just that one alone, you would have to question the sanity of a people who can be out going crazy, shopping, just buying up everything, but won't buy up the right thing. You know, so as it relates to the education system, I was in Baltimore today looking at some schools. I know we're going to build the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, so I got some schools to look at around the country. We raised about $700,000 for that purpose, and I want to thank all the brothers and sisters who have donated. A lot of donations came from California, and I want to encourage the listeners to continue donating, which you can do at GoFundMe.com/Dr. Umar, GoFundMe.com/DRUMAR. You can also mail in your check or money order payable to FDMG Academy, P.O. Box 6872, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19132. I looked at a school in Pennsylvania about 4 days ago. Looked at a school in Baltimore earlier today. Both of those schools, I like them. We're a little short on the cash, but I really like them. And I have a couple schools in Atlanta to look at when I get there on New Year's Day, a couple schools in the Carolinas as well. So I'm looking for the schools, and I have already made my commitment that we will definitely have a building, one way or the other, during the 2017 calendar year. And I have already committed myself that the doors of the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey RBG International Leadership Academy for Pan-African Excellence will open on the 185th anniversary of the Nat Turner War, August the 21st of 2018, the academic revolution will begin.
I'll say to that.
Yes,
Let me ask you,
brother. Yes.
Well, I wanted to ask you this in regards to independent black media specifically, and us being able to shape our own narrative and get out the stories and information that's relevant to us, and also neutralize the improper propaganda, as Khalid Muhammad would put it, that is waged against us, and counter that with proper propaganda. How do you think that independent media can step it up in that regards, and what kind of impact do you think that would have on our people?
The United States government spends over $500 million a year on propaganda. Half the magazines that you purchase in the supermarket are published by the FBI. Half the books that circulate on a yearly basis are published by the FBI and the CIA. America wastes nothing to chance. As Marcus Garvey said, more people have been destroyed by propaganda than have ever been destroyed by open warfare, because propaganda is informational warfare. If you can change a man's mind and make him believe that he can never, ever defeat you, you will never have to meet him on the battlefield. If you can convince a man that he would never be able to defeat you, you will never have to see him on the battlefield. So propaganda is extremely important to any people's nationalistic aspirations. And we don't have an effective Pan-Africanist propaganda movement. In fact, I think we need to have a conference. There needs to be a national conference for all blacks in media, so we can come up with, not bourgeois media though, but grassroots media, so we can come up with a Pan-African intelligence network, because as it stands, we are totally dependent upon white information sources to find out the truth about what's going on with our people. When Hurricane Katrina happened back in 2005, you would have not even known had Wolf Blitzer not told you on CNN. What happened with Michael Brown and Trayvon Martin and Sandra Bland and Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, okay? You would not have even known these things were going on had not white folks told you. So we have to understand something. Until we get a serious information network together, America would be able to literally wage war against some of us, with the rest of us not even knowing about that. We are sitting ducks. We are not prepared, and it is time to organize. Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture said, if you organize a little, you get a little done. If you organize some, you get some done. But if you don't organize at all, you don't get anything done. Mr. Garvey said the greatest weapon used against the Negro is disorganization.
With AT&T, take your U.S. plan to Mexico at no extra charge. When you choose an eligible plan, place calls, send text, and enjoy your plan data in Mexico like in the U.S. It's that easy. AT&T, mobilizing your world. Subject to plan rates, terms, international fees, overage charges, or data speeds. Restrictions apply. See store for plan details.
Right, and we speak about being at war a lot, but without understanding, that there's several elements of war. And as you spoke of that propaganda piece, that's usually the not only the first step of war is the propaganda, the misinformation, but it's also one of the key, because like you said, if you control the mind, you can convince people you're not even at war. Or you could even convince people to participate in the war against your own behalf, against your own against your own best interests. So, we have the economics, which tie into politics. We have different fronts that this war can be fought on and that we can participate in. So that means that everybody with their own individual skills, gifts, passions, resources can participate in this war. And one thing that, with this holiday season coming up, last year around this time we did the blackout, where we basically did a test run on how much damage we can do to the economy if we were to withdraw our funds from these corporations that don't hire us and that invest in private prisons. So I think right now, for us to do the same thing, and not just to pull our money back from the establishment or from our oppressors, but to actually put our money into what's in our best interest, meaning our own businesses, our own banks, things that can build our own infrastructure, that can insulate us from the oppressive regime. and that can empower us.
Black people have no interest whatsoever in doing anything, working together, that is going to benefit the group. It's amazing that we fight for integration so much, because we are the most separatist people in the United States of America. The only time we're interested in integrating is if it doesn't involve black folks. If it involves integrating with other black folks, then you might as well put a Ku Klux Klan robe on us, because we are not interested in cooperation. We are not interested in collaboration. We are experts in division, and we are experts in self-hatred. Look at black culture. Look at mainstream black culture. It is all based on conflict. All of it. Hip-hop, conflict. Reality shows, conflict. Black people's favorite movies, conflict. Community-based organizations, constant conflict. Black people will know what to do if there was no conflict. We only desire conflict. We want to debate all the time. We want to do this. We want to do that. Our whole culture is based on proving that we are more intelligent than the next African person. And until we kill this I, that I is killing us. That I is a rope around the neck of African people. There is no I. There is only the we. And in most traditional African languages, there isn't no word to describe the individual separate from his or her family, which is one of the reasons why you have a last name. That's an African creation. The last name connects you to the family because the family is one. There is no you. There is only a we. But slavery took away the we and gave us a I. And that I was converted into an ego. And when you add the N and the G to the ego becomes a Negro.
Mm-hmm. Damn. Wow. Man, that only is a testament to why we do need that Umar Johnson School. We need that, because we have to be.
We're going to get it, my brother.
That's right, because our children, our babies. You know what I'm saying? And that's the emphasis. Is the babies, because the babies are going to take over the next generation. If the babies are in mode, like if you think about most of the movements, you think about like the Civil Rights Movement, it was the youth that were getting busy. It might have been the elders leading or strategizing or organizing, but even in some of those cases, we're talking about 25-year-olds, you know what I'm saying? MLK was only 25 or whatnot when he started getting going. And so, that educational piece and learning that, because the narrative that we're in right now, it is causing conflict because we've been raised by cavemen. We've been raised by ice people. So by nature now we're taking up their way of action, and it doesn't benefit us because we're in their system and it's not even conducive to our nature. So that last name piece and that, being connected as a whole, that I'm sure you're not saying that that's like an inherent of who we are, but that's who we've been created to be.
Exactly. What you're dealing with is artificial consciousness. What you're dealing with is artificial consciousness. And when you look at what we refer to as the black consciousness community, what you're really dealing with is a trans-consciousness community. We're in transition. We are in becoming truly conscious people. When you're really conscious of who you are, it manifests in your behavior. In other words, there's no such thing who have achieved psychological equality, but you don't see political and economic equality. Once you consider yourself to be beneath no man, you will no longer see black poverty. Once black people truly fall in love with themselves, our economic habits will fall in place. It is impossible for a conscious people to be living in an unconscious reality. It's impossible. Your internal state creates your external. The external is a projection of the internal. So when the black consciousness community say we're conscious, you're not conscious. You are in a state of trans-consciousness. You might be knowledgeable. You might be well-read. You may have an accumulation of facts, but that information has not yet been, absorbed by the unconsciousness. Keep in mind, 90% of the human mind is unconscious. Only 20% is conscious, if that much. So when we talk about we're being conscious, we're just conscious of that over which we are conscious of, that which we can control with deliberate thought. Most of who you are, most of what you do, most of what you think is totally unconscious. Totally unconscious. And the best way to train the unconscious is to do what? Go beneath the radar, bypass the conscious mind, so that your Willie Lynch chip, your post-traumatic slavery disease, cannot resist and react to the truth, and you program the mind without necessarily even being noticed by the conscious mind. That's what propaganda is about. Propaganda will have you hating yourself without even knowing you were taught to. Propaganda will have you loving white folks without even know that you were. What did Malcolm X say about propaganda? Malcolm X said that the media will have you hating the people you should love and loving the people you should hate. The media will have you hating the victim and loving the oppressed. That's the power of subliminal suggestion, and that's the power of subliminal conscious reprogramming. But the problem is most of our musicians, most of our film producers, most of those who are in control of the arts, and let me be clear, the reason why art is so powerful, the reason why art is so important to a culture is because art is the unconscious programming mechanism. Art is the language of the unconscious. That's why art is critical, because art trains the unconscious. Books train the conscious, but art trains the unconscious. But when you look at black art through music, what do you get? Every rap music, misogynistic behavior, smoking blunts, killing black men, go to jail, and acting like a damn Negro who wants to buy every European material item that exists. You look at black movies, Tyler Perry, all you see is shoot 'em up stuff, sex, or some laughy, goofy stuff for some dysfunctional family like what you have on Empire. So when you look at how black art is doing what? Reinforcing. Black art is only reinforcing the negative stereotypes and subliminal conscious programs that have already been put in us since slavery.
And that would explain why there's a deliberate effort to promote a certain type of music. You know, like back in the days, I'm 40 years old. I remember back in the days, you could turn on Yo MTV Raps. You feel me? That was on TV every Saturday. You could turn on the radio, and you're going to hear Public Enemy. You're going to hear things that politically educated us and that inspired us and that gave shots out to the ancestors and shots out to the elders of the time that was putting in work, and they gave us pride. We were rocking those African medallions. I was in high school. So, you know, when that shifted, and all of a sudden, now you can't even find that on the radio. You have to dig in the crates. You have to dig on the underground. You have to Google for that right now. And look at how the behavior has shifted and how our minds have shifted. And now instead of calling each other sister and brother, kings and queens, instead of the positive sisters being getting to play, they have to be twerking and naked and talking about all kinds of things that you don't want your daughters to hear. So,
in many respects, the same images that white people promoted about black folks during slavery and Reconstruction are still with us now. They have only been modernized.
Right.
I mean, look at the rap video. The rap video is nothing more than the over-sexualized black Jezebel that white folks often typecasted the black woman as to justify their excessive rape of black females. I mean, the black comedian is nothing more than the Uncle Remus, the laughing black Sambo. I mean, look at all of the images that we now create for ourselves. And they're nothing more than the reinvented, remixed versions that the white man created during slavery and Reconstruction. As far as I'm concerned, if a black musician is not going to create music that is reaffirming to the African consciousness, that is revolutionary in its intent, they don't even need to make it. Same thing with black film producers. We don't need another Why Did I Get Married? I'm sick and tired of Tyler Perry making movies that do nothing but show the worst aspects of black male-female relationships. And let me be clear, because some people will say, well, listen, we do these things. We do have these problems. I understand that. And I'm not opposed to the movie itself. I'm opposed to the fact that those are the only types of movies that he makes. See, you also see white folks as drug addicts on TV. You see white folks as laughing buffoons on TV. You see white folks as criminals on TV, but you also see white folks as doctors. You see white folks as lawyers. You see white folks as the hero. You see white folks as the protagonist. You see white folks in positive roles. There is a balanced perspective on how white people are portrayed, but there is no balance on how black people are portrayed. We are always shown in the worst manifestations of our cultural reality.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of movies, let's speak on Birth of a Nation. How do you think that was an important image? I mean, despite the fact that maybe it wasn't 100% accurate, and maybe I didn't necessarily like the ending. I thought it was kind of traumatic. It showed a little bit too much trauma, even though it was true. This is what happened and whatnot. But I mean, the fact that Tyler Perry's movie Medina or whatever was #1, and the only time we've ever had a chance to see a rebellion on the big screen, and because of the personal issues with Nate Parker, you know, a lot of our people, especially feminists, turned their back on the movie, and, you know, it didn't get the kind of support, even though it was more successful than they really stated, but, you know, it didn't get the kind of support that I would think that the Nat Turner film would have, because if the Nat Turner film is not successful, then it's going to be hard to get that Haitian Revolution film. It's going to be hard to get that Gullah Geechee War film or any other successful revolutions or insurrections or any times we actually fought back on the big screen. What do you think the impact of that movie, or what do you think about that?
Birth of a Nation is now my favorite movie. It's my favorite movie. It's my favorite movie because it's one of the only movies, if not the only movie I've seen ever made in America where black people did not need white people to save them. In many of my other favorite movies, whether it's Glory, whether it's Remember the Titans, whether it's Men of Honor, almost every black positive movie, the good ones, there's always a white person who has to play the savior. When you look at 12 Years a Slave, Solomon Northup had to be saved by Brad Pitt. If Brad Pitt was not there, he would have never gotten his freedom again. We have to be very careful of those paternalistic portrayals of white folk because it confuses our children and it confuses us. When you see white folks saving black people in every movie, it's going to be difficult for you to ever understand white supremacy. That's the confusion, because our children get mistreated by white folks in the real world, but then they see white folks saving them in cinema, and it sends a conflicting message. They go through a period of cognitive dissonance. What I loved about Birth of a Nation, you're right, it wasn't totally accurate, but it's important that we don't get our history from movies. A movie's job is not to teach. The movie's job is to give a superficial summarization of the historical event, but they must also entertain because they have to make sure they sell tickets. But I love the fact that there was no white savior. I love the fact that an unapologetically African black man, Nat Turner, who is numero uno when you talk about black revolutionaries in America. No one's name gets called before Nat. Remember, Frederick Douglass was only 11 years old when the Nat Turner War took place. Harriet Tubman was a little girl when the Nat Turner War took place. Nat Turner is the precursor to all of them. And the fact that this brother was willing to give his life for the freedom of his people, he has to be put on the Black Mount Rushmore. No one goes before Nat Turner in the United States, including Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey. So the fact that he did that movie, and I think he did a good job with the constraints that he did. I think he did a damn good job. The way in which he portrayed the love that Nat had for his queen, that was beautiful, and it was powerful. I loved every aspect of that movie. Do I take issue with the fact that Nate Parker married a white woman? You damn right I do. I do not excuse that. I do not condone that. I will not accept that. That's a demon he's going to have to wrestle with, because every time he brings up Nat Turner, always going to get the question. You saw it on TV, every radio show, every TV interview. How can you do a movie portraying such a revolutionary black man being married to a white woman? That's a contradiction that Nate Turner has to deal with. And if I ever meet him, we would have to have that conversation. But I'm not going to throw out the baby with the bathwater. A lot of great black folks did good things whose example was not what it needed to be. Look at Sheikh Anta Diop, the greatest African historian and anthropologist that the world has ever seen. In fact, not only the greatest African anthropologist, the greatest anthropologist, period. This is the brother who took skin off the mummies in Kemet and formulated a melanin dosage test to prove that the kings and queens of Kemet had to be African based on the degree of pigmentation in their skin. Is that not genius? He was a Senegalese genius, but he was married to a devil. So, again, we don't approve it. We don't accept it. We don't condone it. Honor them. for the good that they did, and yet still check them for the mistakes that they made. I am a big fan of Birth of a Nation.
Yeah, well, in that whole rundown just reminded me of Dr. Amos Wilson, the late and great, and he spoke on
the greatest black scholar we had in modern time. Amos Wilson wasn't just the greatest psychologist in modern time. He was the greatest black scholar in modern time. And the reason I say that is because out of all the scholars we have produced in the post-Dr. King era, Amos Wilson was the most progressive. He was the most practical, and he was the most progressive. Amos Wilson was trying to solve problems that were far beyond the realm of psychology. He was dealing in economics. He was dealing in politics. He was dealing in Pan-African relations. Amos Wilson is the blueprint. Amos Wilson is the standard for black scholarship in the 21st century. Anyone who wants to know what a black scholar needs to be doing, brothers in the conscious community need to know what they need to be doing, study Amos Wilson. He's the blueprint of the scholar activist. And he was a
and one thing that he said, and all that is true, one thing that he said, he spoke on super niggerism, which he defined basically, to paraphrase it, was basically, the symptom that we have right now, where we can't separate a person's personal flaws from the work that they're putting in, or from the genius, or from the ideas that they are trying to manifest. So, it allows us to be able to look at Elijah Muhammad, and since we don't agree with the polygamy part, now we act like everything he's saying wasn't something that we could be practicing that would advance our people. It's that we look for the minor flaws that we don't do with white people, but we look for our own leaders to be pristine and clean and perfect, or we'll find a way to minimize what they're doing. And by nature, or by definition, that's counterintelligence 101.
Black people can't stand their leaders. Black people can't stand real black leaders. They hate them. Bougie black leaders, they love them. The Al Sharptons and the Jessies, they love them. But real black leaders, the Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Khalid Abdul Muhammad, they don't really like them. Black people don't want no black man or black woman telling them what they're doing wrong. We cannot stand being accountable to ourselves, and we damn sure can't stand being accountable to a black leader. There's exceptions to this, obviously, but the exceptions are not the norm. The truth of the matter is the last thing black people want is leaders who are going to make them do right. You always hear black people say, we need leadership. We need leadership. We need leaders. That's correct. We do. No people has ever came out of oppression without leaders. You can't show me a race. You can't show me a nation. You can't show me any ethnic group in human history at any period in history who ever came out of oppression without leadership. We need leadership. But as much as black people claim that they want the leadership, the last thing they want is someone forcing them to be accountable to the collective. We cannot stand black folks. And the last thing we want is somebody who's trying to remind us not only that we're black, but that we have an obligation to other black. Black people go out of their way to justify what happens to black folks. When Trayvon Martin got shot, well, maybe if he didn't run, maybe if he didn't move. I mean, we make excuses to justify what white folks do, even in the public schools. Well, maybe they do need to learn how to sit still. I mean, when you listen to black people, we are constantly giving white folks the benefit of the doubt because we love them. Let's just be honest. Black people are infatuated. They are in love. They are in total ecstasy with white America. Total ecstasy with white America. Black people love white folks. And that's why as we fight and as we organize and revolutionize our reality, it's very important that we pick and choose who we're going to work with. Listen, everybody's not going along for some sort of utopian struggle. The African Revolution will not be a utopic struggle. Half the black folks in America are totally useless as it relates to where we need to take our people. Half of these Negroes need to disappear tomorrow. I'm telling you, if you try to get every black person in America to get on board with what we need to do, you will never get to where you need to be. We will never reach the goal because these Negroes are more European than the European. You are dealing with chocolate Europeans. That's what you got. Chocolate Europeans. And before you can force one of them chocolate Europeans to do right, they will sell you out.
I am back here at my favorite place to shop, DD's Discounts, and I am saving money, saving money, saving money on amazing gifts for everyone on my list. I got my husband this watch and these headphones, toys my kids are gonna love. And I found this fabulous top for my mom. It's the same one I just saw somewhere else for a lot more. Ooh, look over there. I think my sister would look great in that outfit.
To find a location near you, visit dd'sdiscounts.com.
to the slave master. I mean, think about it. Denmark Vesey slave revolt, betrayed by Negroes. Gabriel Prosser slave revolt, betrayed by Negroes. Dr. King, set up by Negroes. Malcolm X, set up by Negroes. Marcus Garvey, sabotaged by Negroes. Patrice Lumumba, murdered by Negroes. I mean, do I need to, Kwame Nkrumah, overthrown by Negroes.
Definitely.
Every time a black leader is done out, every time a black leader is done out, a black man did it. Every last time. You can't show me one example in modern history from slavery to the present where a black leader who tried to do something good was not betrayed by his own people.
Well, like you said, I mean, if we're waiting for everybody to jump on this, not only will we be waiting for a long time, I mean, but it won't happen, and we don't need that though. I mean, what nation has been established by a whole mass of people? It's always a few pioneers that pioneer the way, and then people add on as it goes on.
But see, we got another problem too, and that is political confidentiality. One of my greatest fears as it relates to the African struggle is how it can be betrayed unintentionally by Negroes with big mouths. We know how to keep things to ourselves. Black people have no confidentiality when it comes to black issues because we don't value ourselves. We can be confidential about our fraternity. We can be confidential about sorority. We can be confidential about our little cliques. But when it comes to keeping things that's going to benefit all black people to yourself, we have a difficult time doing that. A lot of black leaders have been betrayed by big-mouth people in their circle. You know, getting people you can trust to keep their mouth shut long, because the essence of warfare is deception. The art of war is deception. If we cannot catch people off guard politically and economically, we'll never be able to fix anything. As long as they have prior information on what the strategies and tactics are, we will never win. I would say that you might get 1 out of every 100 blacks in America to join the freedom struggle. 1 out of every 100. The other 99, including black conscious folks, because I'm going to tell you something. Black conscious folks are not going to be the ones that are going to lead this for us. I'm just going to put it out there, and I don't care who don't like it. If you're waiting for the black conscious community to lead us anywhere, the church will get you there faster than black consciousness, because all they want to do is masturbate intellectual issues that ain't got a damn thing to do with our current political, economic time of day. The black conscious community will not save black folks. I promise you that. I promise you that it will not be black conscious folks. It will be regular, strong-willed, committed, honest, sincere black folks. They might even go to church. Marcus Garvey went to church. Malcolm X went to the mosque. I'm telling you, we have to stop looking for conscious folks because they got all types of arrogance, ego, and hang-ups. They will not be the saviors. They might be the participants, but they will not be the saviors. They're too hung up on their own opinions about irrelevant issues to really get involved in anything significant. They'll tell you how to solve your problems, but they will not participate in the solving of those problems unless you pay them to do it.
Right. And matter of fact, it's like a church in itself that's in competition with the church, because a lot of the country people will
need a church.
Right, but they act like churches are bad, so they don't want to work with our traditional churches that are the backbone of our.
But you a church yourself. How can church be bad when you holding church? Total contradiction.
Absolutely. Let me plug your upcoming lecture in L.A. one more time. We have a lot of Californiites on the phone line. As a matter of fact, I wanted to get a couple more calls that's been waiting pretty patiently, if you don't mind. The lecture. Sure. Dr. Umar Johnson will be speaking on Black Power politics in the age of Donald Trump at the Ward AME Church, 1177 West 25th Street, Los Angeles, 90007. You can also get the tickets at princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. So get those tickets. You don't want to miss this powerful lecture. For those that are on the line, press the 1 to join the conversation. You can dial in 347-989-8767. We're having a very powerful discussion. Let's take it to the area code 757. Peace, you're on Black Eye Radio with
Nigger.
Okay. All right. You know, I don't mind when the most thing you could do with your racism is say nigger. You know what I'm saying? If you're not really doing anything with that. You know, we're past that. Let's take it to the 6323. Peace, you're on Black Guy Stand Radio with Dr. Umar Johnson.
Greetings there, Mr. J. How you doing? Greetings there, Black I Stand Radio. Greetings there, Dr. Johnson. Yeah, this is Shabaka Sankaral coming to you, blog talk show host of Shabaka's Black Experience Enhanced. And you're going to my hometown of where I grew up, Doctor, there, over there off of 25th Street at 1117 in Los Angeles. I grew up in Los Angeles there. And I was listening to Mr. Dizzle where you were saying that you were 40 years old, so that means that you were generally born around the 1970s. Where this shift came, basically in the psychological aspect, by that sick-ass cesspool down there called Hollywood, which is near in Los Angeles. There's the films that they were making and the disco era coming in, and then after the disco era coming in, then you had the crack generation that came in that really had shattered the main structure of the black family unit. And I appreciate, the good doctor of what he does, standing up for what he believes in on his research and what have you, he's very, very heavy. But currently in these times, which also, too, that we have to look at, and I think you and I discussed this off the air, is this effeminization that you got going on out here in the state of California, coming up out of Hollywood and out of Silicon Valley and with the social media as well, too, and how this damages our youth and our future generation. So most definitely we have to get our educational infrastructures going on and homeschooling that I wanted to commend them brothers on again down in New Orleans, Louisiana doing that is because the students of his programs are coming very, very along, very much better than in these indoctrination centers called the inner city public school system. And I went to the inner city public school system down there in Los Angeles. You know what I mean? I mean, man, I dropped out of high school and graduated City College, you know what I mean? And whatnot, just to show you how backward asses that those educational institutions are going on. Yeah, but I'm just checking it out. Yeah, so and also, too, and once again, greetings to you, Doctor, as well.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. And I agree with you, and I would say that the best way to eliminate that effeminization is to have our own schools. It all goes back to self-responsibility, self-determination. The truth of the matter is, as much as we, talk about how the public school system miseducates black children, the truth of the matter is black folks don't care about black kids any more than white folks do. Because if we did, we would not be spending all this money that we're wasting every year and every Christmas on all this other useless nonsense when our kids don't even have a decent place to learn. You cannot love your children. And I'm not talking about our individual children. That's selfishness. I'm speaking of the collective. We as a people cannot claim to love our kids. We have the ability to change their reality and instead choose not to. You mean to tell me we invest in everybody else's children? Every time you shop, you're investing in someone else's children. You're putting someone else's children through college, but yet you won't do the same for your own.
Yes, sir. And Los Angeles is a classic example of that with the area called Koreatown. Now, get this, over in the 1970s, late 60s, I think, I grew up over there as a kid. And you had a lot of, Korean businesses over there and what have you. And in one generation, they went there, bought up all the real estate over there through pre-gentrification, buying up all the old real estate, all the worn-down buildings, putting up their own nail shops, putting up their own accounting offices, their own doctor's offices, dental offices, professional buildings, and what have you. And just like you said, Doctor, they're taking all that revenue that we spend off in their nail shops, that we spend off in their liquor stores out there in South Central and Watts and Compton, what have you, and they educate their own, and they use the cooperative economics. But it is the programming and the misprogramming and the disprogramming, of these media institutions like Hollywood, like these media institutions of like social media, just supporting and upholding white supremacy. That's the main thing that integration did, was held up white supremacy. When you look at it back in the last 50 years, and I think I did a show a few months back on the 50th anniversary of the Black Panther Party. I go amongst school-age children, man, about 7 or 8 years ago, and they never heard of none of the people there out of the Black Empowerment era. But they did hear of that out of the integrational era. But now the ones, was talking about determination like Dr. Garvey, like Frederick D., like the Black Panther Party did. You see what I mean? And things of this nature right here. And then like the Black Wall Street. You see, we got to get that back. And then, too, Jay, I remember on one of your shows when you was talking about having our own black treasury, where we can control our own commercial infrastructures and our educational infrastructures and make some true progress. And that is the true black power right there. But like you said, and like the good doc did mention, it's still that mental shackle that we still have off that plantation system of that abuse and that degradation and that demasculization and the feminization of the black male, you know, that a lot of these slave pictures, you know, seems to be emphasizing. And, you know, and at the last few years, you know, I quit looking at the slave pictures, man. You know, it's just too unbearable. They still reinforcing us as black men, you know, to still be subservient, still be that Amos and Andy and ass-scratching Yassa Boss and BS, you know, Step and Fetch It, Uncle Remus, you know, Uncle Ruckus, that type of stuff, you know.
Hi, I'm a helpful Southern California Honda person, and this holiday season we've been doing random acts of helpfulness, like giving out free Christmas trees, helping out at children's hospitals, and providing warm meals for the less fortunate. And during the Happy Honda Days sales event, we can help you too, with a great deal on an award-winning Honda, like the 2016 CR-V, a 2016 IIHS top safety pick. Click the dealer locator link to find a dealer near you, and go to SoCalHondaDealers.com to suggest a random act of helpfulness for someone you know.
Hollywood directors don't settle for anything but the best picture, sound, and comfort when screening their films. And neither should you. So check out the new Universal Cinema at City Walk, a multi-million-dollar renovation of the AMC Theater, now with Christie RGB laser projection and Dolby Atmos with immersive surround sound. Plus, reserved deluxe reclining seats make the movie so much better. And with $5 movie parking every day, why go anywhere else? Universal Cinema at City Walk. $5 general parking with movie purchase rebate. Recliner seating not available in IMAX theaters.
Yeah, and just want to get some feedback on the good doctor on that.
Yes, sir. I follow you on that, my brother. I totally follow you on that, you know. And I think that we're probably going to have to start having some conferences and conventions coming up to really start organizing along some very specific lines. In fact, although I'll be in L.A. on January the 7th, I definitely want everyone to come on out and support, because I haven't been in Los Angeles to speak since 2014. I was the keynote speaker at Long Beach State this last October or November, I think it was, sold out Black Consciousness Conference. They said it was the largest crowd they ever had, you know, but I wasn't in L.A. proper in the community, so this will be my first time since 2014. But I will be in San Diego as well. I will be in San Diego as well on Sunday, January the 29th at Mother Makeda's World Beat Cultural Center. So the brothers down in Southern California, I want them to come on up to L.A., and then I want them to come on back down at the end of the month to San Diego. But more importantly, in San Diego at the World Beat Cultural Center on January 27th and 28th, and I need everybody in the West Coast to hear this, the National Independent Black Parent Association, the new organization I started this past spring in Baltimore, the National Independent Black Parent Association, will be hosting our third regional national invitation leadership training conference. If anyone on the West Coast wants to start a chapter of the National Independent Black Parent Association to help organize our parents to fight against racism in the schools, please come to San Diego Friday and Saturday, the 28th and the 27th and 28th of January, from 9 in the morning until 6 p.m. You cannot start a chapter unless you had the training. I have to make sure you have the information. I have to make sure you understand what we're fighting for, what we're not fighting for, how we operate, and how to effectively organize black parents. There will be 7 committees: special ed committee to fight against special ed fraud and abuse, a school discipline committee to fight against the unfair and excessive suspension and expulsion of black children, a policy committee to fight to change the rules in the schools that negatively affect our children, finance committee to investigate how the public schools are spending our tax money, a social committee to support our struggling parents, a homeschool committee to organize the homeschooling black parents. Okay, and then the final 7th committee is parent advocacy, a group of parents who will be advocates for other parents. No parent should ever go to a public school meeting by yourself, and I hope all the parents are listening. Never go into the school alone. You must have people to go with you. This is a very serious organization. Black parents have never been organized in America on a national scale. This is the first time black parents on a national scale are being organized. So I want to see L.A., I want to see Long Beach, I want to see Carson, I want to see San Diego, I want to see Oakland, I want to see San Francisco, I want to see brothers and sisters from Arizona, those who are from Nevada. This is for the West Coast. Come on down and get this training. If you want to make a difference, you can start right now in San Diego with the National Independent Black Parent Association.
All right.
Right on. We got a few more calls to get through. We have a lot of people from California on the line. Make sure y'all make it down to L.A. January 7th. Make sure you also follow the show on Black I Stand Radio. Just hit the follow button. I want to thank real quick my last guest, Minister Inky, for coming on and breaking down the comedic science and the health. I also want to give a shout-out to one of my next guests, the National Chief of Staff of the new Black Panther Party, Sean Castro-Qualley, who will be here on New Year's Eve. So make sure y'all check that out. You can check out the Black I Stand RBG Twitter. Let's take it to the area code 310. Peace. You're on Black I Stand Radio with Dr. Umar Johnson.
Black Power. This is Brother Jabari, the local chairman of Los Angeles, California. Dr. Umar, I got mad love for you. Got more. Hello? Black Power?
Yes, sir. Peace and love, my brother. Peace and love.
Yeah. Yes, I want to come. We're looking forward to you coming down here, sir. I'm like I said before, I'm the local chairman of the new Black Panther Party, the Los Angeles chapter, and
yes, sir.
We're looking forward to you coming down here, man. My queen is real excited about you. She got me into overstanding you when I first came into the liberation movement from the conscious community. And brother, you speaking of Amos, Dr. Amos Wilson. I'm reading this book called "The Falsification of African Consciousness," and I like your story. I'm just reading from the book. He said, if our education is not about gaining real power, we are being miseducated and misled, and we will die educated and misled. And like you were saying, Malcolm X said, you never let a fool, only a fool will let somebody educate his children. So I'm looking forward to you bringing that message, because I'm from Chicago, living in Los Angeles, and it's war. I'm just gonna keep it real. It's war for the minds of our children and their children's children. So I can't wait to hear your message. And you're gonna be coming to the east side of South Central, where the Panthers rolled at in the history of, in the story of the Panther Party, with Bunchy Carter, John Higgins, and the Freeman brothers. You know, did their thing on 41st and Central. So you come in the right time. And the right side of town, sir. We welcome you, Dr. Umar. We are waiting, starving for your knowledge, sir.
Thanks a lot, my brother. I'm looking forward to getting there. Can't wait to get there. We also want to let the parents know that children 12 and under will be free. 12 and under will be free. And elders 65 and older will also be free. 12 and under free, 65 and older free. Please come on out. It's going to be powerful. Looking forward to it. Always a classic whenever I link up with Los Angeles. So I got to try to start coming a little bit more regularly. It's just that now I get so many international requests that it appears that I'm going to have to pull back on how often I speak in the States, only because as a Pan-Africanist, I got to share that love around the world. You know, so I have China coming up. I'm going to be going back to South America. Brazil is coming up. Some requests out of Canada, back to the United Kingdom. Australia is on the radar. You know, so a lot of brothers and sisters, they usually wait for me to come to their city. And what I'm saying here and now is you cannot wait for me to come to your city anymore. There's too many cities in America that I probably couldn't get to all of them in my lifetime if I tried to. So if I'm near you, if I'm in your state, if I'm 2 states away, and you value being in my space that much, then you're going to have to travel a little bit. Because I often hear brothers and sisters say, come here, come here. If I'm traveling all the time, why can't you travel sometimes and come to where I'm at? You know what I mean? But now, with Africa coming on board as much as it has been, I'm going to be spending a lot more time on the mother continent, so I won't be as free to travel the States as much as I've had. I just had an opportunity to speak at a historical Pan-African leadership conference hosted at Jomo Kenyatta University in Nairobi, Kenya, this past October, and I spoke to young African leaders representing at least 40 countries. For me, it is probably going to go down as the most significant lecture, the most significant address I've ever made in my life. I mean, Somalia was there. Kenya obviously was there. South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, the Congo, the Gambia was there. Chad was there. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I tried to post as many pictures on my Facebook as I can. I met so many brothers and sisters. I mean, 87% of Africa was in that room with me. 87% of Africa. And, you know, after that, I mean, the explosion just hit. You know, so I'm already getting requests to come here and come there and come there, and I have to honor those requests because it's Africa. You know, so again, America, I'm still going to be showing the love, but it ain't going to be the same extent that it has been because I now have to spread that love around the world.
Black Power, Dr. Umar Johnson. Black Power.
Black Power, my brother. I will see you soon.
Black
Power,
Brother Jabari.
Thank you, Brother Jizzle. And keep up the good work, man. We loving you down here in L.A., man. We appreciate your work for doing Black Outstand Radio, brother. Black Power, brother.
Sir.
Black Power. Black Power for black people.
Appreciate it. Let's take it to the area code 318. Peace, you're on Black Outstand Radio with Dr. Umar Johnson.
Peace and blessings, family. I just wanted to ask Dr. Umar Johnson a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Dr. Umar, if you would kind of expound for the parents that are possibly listening on this call, what would they need to do in regards to their son that is in a public school system that is experiencing racism? What would be the best techniques or the things that they would need to do as parents to help advocate for their sons that is exposed to racism within the public school system? I greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. The first thing I would say they need to do is that they need to join the National Independent Black Parent Association. And I say that because I often find that in any school, you may have 10 parents fighting the same war, but they're fighting it individually.
Hi, I'm a helpful Southern California Honda person, and this holiday season we've been doing random acts of helpfulness, like giving out free Christmas trees, helping out at children's hospitals, and providing warm meals for the less fortunate. And during the Happy Honda Days sales event, we can help you too, with a great deal on an award-winning Honda, like the 2016 CR-V, a 2016 IIHS top safety pick. Click the dealer locator link to find a dealer near you and go to SoCalHondaDealers.com to suggest a random act of helpfulness for someone you know.
That isn't just the sound of the all-new 2016 Mercedes-Benz GLC being put through its paces. It's the sound of innovation. The innovation behind one of the most advanced SUVs on the road today. With multiple driving modes, a suite of intelligent drive systems, and a technology-filled cabin that sets new standards in modern luxury. This is what innovation sounds like. Now, discover what it feels like in a 2016 Mercedes-Benz GLC.
Some equipment described as optional.
With their child only. If those same 10 parents that's fighting racism on the individual level unite with each other and become a committee, they have just quadrupled the amount of leveraging power they will have when they sit down to meet with the principal or the assistant superintendent. Whenever you can find another parent having the same issue, this is no longer an individual situation. It is now systemic racism. So what they have to do is invest in research, find other parents in the same school who have the exact same problem, because now you take it out of the realm of an isolated incident and it becomes a structural inequality. A structural inequality. And once you have systematic racism, you can now levy a report against that school district with the United States Department of Education, OCR, the Office of Civil Rights. There is an Office of Civil Rights within the United States Department of Education in Washington, D.C., whose job is to investigate civil rights abuses in public education. Racism is a civil rights abuse in public education. And parents also have to document more. Parents have to document better. One of my biggest grievances with black parents is they do not like picking up the ink pen and taking notes. Black parents
are not committed enough to take the notes. You had a conversation with a teacher, you should have wrote down the conversation. Somebody called you, you should have took a minute to jot down what they said. You came from a meeting, write a quick 5-sentence summary of what transpired in that meeting. You need documentation. The public schools have documentation. 75% of it is fraudulent. 75% of it is lies, but they have it. And as long as they walk in with lies on paper and you walk in with the truth in your head but not on paper, they're going to beat you every time. I've seen so many parents lose against the schools for no other reason than they did not have their thoughts, opinions, and memory put on paper. White culture is all about the printed word. They don't have an honor system. They don't believe in honor contracts. It's all about the printed word, so we have to make sure that we are printing the word, because one day, those notes that you wrote that you thought were insignificant may one day save your child or someone else's. Join the National Independent Black Parent Association. You can register the same place you're going to buy your Los Angeles tickets, and of course I'll be doing a lecture in San Diego on Sunday the 29th. So Los Angeles on the 7th and San Diego on the 29th. Tickets at princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. I also want your listeners to know that every Tuesday morning I host a free Black Parent teleconference. Every Tuesday, any Black parent in the world who has a problem with their child as it relates to education or mental health can call me 6 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. I do recognize that that means 3 to 5, okay, in West Coast time, because you guys are 3 hours behind us, so 6 a.m. is 3 a.m. So I understand it says very early, but if you have a problem with your child out there in Vegas, out there in Cali, out there in Phoenix, out there in Seattle, then you need to set that alarm clock and wake up and get that free consultation from Dr. Umar Johnson. So I should never again hear about parents in the West Coast who are having issues with their children, education and education and mental health, and they don't know where to turn, because they can always turn to me every single Tuesday. I do that for free. It's not about a hustle. It's about a struggle, not capitalism, but activism.
Word. And speaking of Seattle, I know you've been to Seattle. You've been to Tacoma a couple times. That's where I'm at, by the way. That's where I'm at.
You're in Tacoma or you in Seattle?
I'm in Seattle.
This is what I need you to do.
Yeah, we need to work out something to get you out here. I know you're busy. I know you're traveling all over the world, and we need you to teach the people all over the world. I wanted to ask you about that as well.
All you have to do is find me a venue out there that I can rent that can seat 400 people comfortably. Find me that venue in Seattle. It could be a church, community center, event hall, but it needs to seat 400. I've been looking, because I haven't been to Seattle in 4 years. So I've been looking to come back, but everyone I've been talking to, they haven't been successful at finding me a venue out there. So if you can do that for me, I can put Seattle on my Black History Month tour list. But we got to act fast, because February I get bombarded with a lot of college requests. I get a lot of college requests, and I love the colleges, but I also want to squeeze some community events in there. But you guys got to find them venues for me. It's the same thing going on with Austin, Texas. Same thing going on with Chicago right now. Finding the venues, because, Black people don't own them. All we own is churches. We don't own any commercial real estate, where we can actually hold events. So it becomes very difficult to find a place to host events, because you don't want to be in a spot where you're not going to be welcome. And then at the same time, you want something Black-owned. But the truth of the matter is, Black folks don't own anything except churches.
Right. We sure need it up here in the Northwest. I'll let you know that. Now, let me ask you this before we go to the next call. You've traveled the world. You've traveled all over the globe and spoke to our people in many different nations. What's the reception that, I know you get a warm reception, but what's the perception that most other African-descended people have towards us here in the United States?
On the one hand, they think we're crazy. But then on the other hand, they think we got it all together. They really believe that we got it together. That's why they imitate us. Because America very cleverly
she does not show poor Africans in America to other black folks in the world. So when you go to Africa, sometimes you have to convince them that you're not rich. You got to let them know that we have ghettos in America that look just like Soweto. You know, we have ghettos that look just like Johannesburg. You know, it's no different, but they don't get that. All they see is LeBron, Jay-Z, Kanye. America hides its shameful treatment of blacks to the rest of the world. So the rest of the world thinks that we're all progressive and successful. They look at us and say, wow, they came out of slavery, and now they're the president of the United States. They came out of slavery, and now they're worth $500 million. They don't realize that that is only 1% of black folks. They don't understand that other 99% of us are struggling, dealing with racism, dealing with miseducation. They don't know. And because of that, they have projected us as the leaders of the people. African Americans are the undisputed leaders of the African race. Whether you like it or not, that is the position you are in. And that's a sad thing. It's good. It's a gift and a curse. The gift part is if we got our act together with our finances and our education, we could transform the whole African diaspora. Right. We could rescue the whole race if we got our act together. That's the gift. Now the curse part, if you don't get your shit together, neither will the rest of the African world.
Damn. Yeah, I noticed that when I was in Jamaica as well. You know, everybody that came up thought I was some kind of star or some kind of rich. You know, it was kind of a trip. It was beautiful, but you know, they thought that, you know, because I'm black and I'm in Jamaica that I must be rich. I must be a rapper or I must be an athlete or something.
Exactly. Which is why I haven't ruled out Africa as a potential site for the Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy. You know, that's still a potential option. Yeah. You know,
what country
Kenya.
do you think would be? Yeah, okay.
I'm open. I'm wide open. You know, I got people in Nigeria, Kenya, Malawi, South Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal. You know, I have them all over. So, you know, the only reason why I was reluctant to put the first school there is because I know most of us do not have a Pan-African outlook. So many American African parents will not feel comfortable sending their children because they don't consider them to be African. That's the only thing that keeps me from putting the first school in Africa. If our parents had a Pan-Africanist outlook, if that was like the predominant ideology of black parents, without question, the first school would be in Africa. It'd be a no-brainer. I'll probably be over there right now building it, you know. But because I know that's not the case, that we have become Negroes again in the post-Garvey era, so I have to accept that reality and try to put the first school here. Yes, good sister.
Hi, my name is Jennifer, and I live in Seattle. And I just wanted to say a few things because, you know, I'm new to all this that's going on. You know, I came from a mixed family, you know, Spanish. My mom was Spanish, and my dad was African-American, but he traveled a lot. He was gone a lot, so we were basically raised by my mom, so we were raised with the Spanish traditions. But, you know, as the years of
when
we
you
live
say
in
Spanish, are you saying Spanish from Spain? Or
no, from
Latino?
Hispanic Latino, yeah, from Panama. Panama.
Well, that's black. I mean, most Panamanians are black folks. So,
That's true.
I mean,
that's true.
You could be black Spanish or you could be white Spanish. It sounds like you black Spanish. Just like somebody said, I often have kids in the school say, I'm half black and half Puerto Rican. Well, that's 100% African.
Celebrate with Vons this week. Stop in for great deals on festive favorites, everything you need to make the season merrier. Ring in the season when you shop with your club card and pick up Simply Juice 59 ounces refrigerated, selected varieties 2 for $5 plus CRV, limit 2 total. And stop by Produce for a sweet deal on everyone's favorite healthy holiday snack. Local Halo tangerines, 3-pound bags for only $2.88 each. Smarter choices, sweeter deals, happier holidays. Vons, fact is, it's just better.
My mom, she was Panamanian and French. So, in any case, this is what I wanted to say. One, how does one find out about, you know, getting involved in all the programs and, what's going on in the black community as far as the things that you've been talking about here in Washington. Is there a chapter somewhere here in Washington? Because I don't never really hear about that. Because I feel like the Seattle folks, the Washington folks, we don't deal with this as much as the South does. I mean, the things that I see that go on in the South are incredible. I mean, some of the stuff that I've been seeing over this last year since Trump has been campaigning and he's brought these people out from their rocks, I'm like, I was like shocked. I was like, oh my God, this stuff really happens. And so I was just done. I'm still done about it. But, in Seattle, they kind of hide their racism. But in the South, they're kind of blatant with their stuff.
Right.
Right? So
absolutely.
I just want to know in Seattle, is there an organization here that we could kind of, go to help organize? I'm kind of interested in what you said about coming to California for the 2-day training. Because my business is helping people, and I really feel like the school systems, because my child was bullied because he had mental health issues in school, and we live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and so the school was predominantly white, and they treated my son bad. And, I had to take me and my sister up there, and we wrote our notepad. We took notes. There was nothing that was going to be said that we didn't have documented. Every note we wrote to the school, every note we wrote to the school board, the district, everything. Because at the end of the day, I'm my son's only fighter. I'm the only one taking care of him, So if I don't fight for him, nobody else in that school was going to fight for him. They was going to keep suspending him, keep letting the kids, harass him. And I just really felt like, okay, this is ridiculous. And, because my sister is in that field, she was like, look, this is what we're going to do. She was like, we're going to set up a meeting. We're going to take notes. We're going to do this. So what you said about black parents organizing when they're dealing with the school, you are absolutely dead on. You don't ever take a meeting with the dignitaries at the school without having someone there that's going to take notes for you. And any transaction that parents have with the teachers, if there's a disagreement, it needs to be well documented. Regardless if there's only you and that teacher talking, you need to write it down, and then you need to go to the next level if you can't resolve it with the teacher. So, I mean, I'm absolutely on board with that. I don't know if my schedule is going to permit me to come to California on those days, but I'm going to try really, really hard, because I'm really, really interested in organizing for these black parents and especially the ones that don't know. I mean, that are, they live in the lower income areas. I feel like those people are subjected to this kind of behavior the most. But then again, I can't say that because I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and my son was pretty much bullied the whole time he was in school until we really took it serious and said, wait a minute, this is getting ridiculous. So that's what I was saying. I'm going to really try to come and come to your conference and then come back to Seattle and try to set up a meeting. But I'd like to hear from you. Is there a chapter in Seattle? Is there something going on in Seattle that I can reach out to?
Well, with regard to the Parent Association, not at this time, which is why the training is over there, because we don't have any chapters in the West right now. So that's why the conference is over there, to give anyone on that side of the country who's serious that opportunity to come to get the training and to start the chapter, because you cannot start a chapter unless you come to a training conference. Okay.
And then, so outside of that, outside of the school situation, how about just other issues, racism issues that happen in the city? Is there a chapter for that?
In regard
not
to...
with my organization. Go ahead, I'll let you answer that, my brother.
Well, I was going to say, not to cut you off, good doctor, but we have a new Black Panther Party, Seattle, Tacoma. There is an organization called Not This Time, which was founded by Andre Taylor, formerly known as Gorgeous Dre. And they meet at the Seattle Vocational Institute on 24th and Cherry every Wednesday. And if you want to get some more information on other organizations out here, sis, you can reach me through Facebook, and we could exchange numbers or whatnot. You can reach me through Facebook. That's Jay Dizzle on Facebook. And also you can contact the new Black Panther Party Seattle-Tacoma chapter Facebook page, and through there we could exchange information. And I can definitely point you in the direction of some great organizations out here, some great grassroots organizations that's serious about doing things and that would be able to probably lead you in the right direction and also give assistance to your children. You know, there's a 4Cs coalition mentoring group where I mentored for over 4 years. The Camerons, Hazel and Don Cameron, are the founders of that, and that's also an awesome organization in itself where, there's private mentoring, one-on-one mentoring, and also group mentoring and teaching of education and our cultural history and things of that nature. So, I mean, there is a network. There is a network out here. You just kind of got, you got to plug into it because you see how the demographics are. You know, Washington State is one of the most whitest states, and like you said, that racism here is a lot more underhanded. It's a lot more institutional. It's a lot more smile on your face. But, working against you, when I was down south, like, you knew who hated you and who didn't. So even if you had to do business, you had to go to the store, you knew you didn't like them, you did your business, and you got on the way. Up here, it's a little bit different. So they call it liberal, but it's just racist. Matter of fact, there are a lot of hate groups up here in the Seattle area.
Yes, exactly my point. And, at first I was really upset about Trump getting elected. But let me just say this, and then I'll give someone else a turn to talk to Dr. Umar. I feel like Trump is going to be a blessing to the African-American people because I feel like he's making people really come out and show their colors. And I think black people as a whole are going to say, you know what, we really need to get our stuff together now because now is the time. We can't wait no more. We can't keep waiting to organize and start cutting out of what we want to do. We can have our whole, like the guy said, our structural systems, commercial buildings, our, banks. We already have banks, but Trump has kind of brought that to the surface. I mean, it's like real prevalent right now. It's like in your face type stuff. So I really hope that him being president that helps us as a community, help us come together. And I'm gonna get off here.
Well, we appreciate your call, Love and Light, sis. Make sure you follow the show, and there's always a lot of good information that we go live every week. We did a special show today for Dr. Umar, but we do go live every Saturday, and there's a lot of good information in the shows. So and get a hold of me, and we'll definitely lead you in the right direction, no doubt.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
We only have about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure, Doctor, first of all, I want to thank you for joining the show. And I wanted to make sure I told you that, one of the things that really made me gravitate towards you, not just the information that you give, not just the pro-black stance and the things that I've learned from you, but even your delivery. You really are able to connect with the regular street brother and with the intellectuals. You kind of have that hip-hop swag to your presentation. So, it really makes people gravitate to you and makes you really able to connect and build rapport. So, I appreciate you for that. I appreciate the work you put in. I've been a fan of yours since the first time I seen you. I've let a lot of people in this area know about you. And even my aunts are digging you. And I appreciate you being on the show. But I want to give you a chance.
I appreciate the love, man. I really do. I appreciate the love. And I look forward to working with you in Seattle, and I really do hope that you guys, can help find me a venue in Seattle that I can rent so I can come on out there because I haven't been to Seattle in a while. I think it was 2012, maybe 2013, at least 3 years, maybe 4, So I really need to get back out to Seattle, Portland, too. In fact, I'll probably do both of those back-to-back, so just definitely let me know. But Los Angeles, please come on out. Very serious message. We want all the parents there, all the conscious heads, all the hip-hop heads, the corner boys, the babies, the elders, the college students, the parents. Bring everybody out. Saturday, January the 7th, we're going to set the new year off on a good note. 7 is the number of the Great Divine Mother. Saturday, January the 7th. Please come on out. Get your tickets at princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. princeofpanafricanism.eventbrite.com. Dr. Umar Johnson is coming back to town.
That's 1717, baby. Numerology is lining up. I know it's late where you're at, good brother. I do appreciate your time. I want to thank everybody.
All mine, bro.
I want to thank all the
listeners.
Needs
to reach me, 8444 Dr. Umar, 8444 DRUMAR, DrUmarJohnson.com, Twitter and Instagram at Dr. Umar Johnson, and Facebook, Dr. Umar Ifatunde. If you need the flyer, you can text me 215-989-9858, 215-989-9858, and I will text you the flyer for the event.
That's what's up. So make sure y'all come out to Ward AME Church, January 7th, 1177 West 25th Street, LA, 90007. You can also get the tickets at princeofpanafricanism.com or .eventbrite.com. We can also get to the website through the Blog Talk Radio / Black Guy Stand in the episode info. I want to thank my guest again. I want to thank all the callers. I want to thank my comrades in the new Black Panther Party. I want to thank the network, Liberation Minded Media, My Skin is My Sin, Do the Knowledge Radio, The Rundown with Renee, Get This Wisdom Magazine, and I want to say peace and love and black power to the family. Follow the show, and we out.